It's June 16th, and I'm out here looking at some soybeans, rather. I started to say corn because I've got quite a bit of volunteer corn, and that happened to be what I was looking at. Things are looking pretty good, really. I was hoping to do some spraying this week, but I'm not sure the wind is going to cooperate for that. But I don't think it's probably too urgent yet. Most of what I'm seeing out here is morning glory, which that's a little bigger. There's a little one there. And volunteer corn. That morning glory looks a little sickly, so I don't know if there's still some pre-emerge herbicide that's affecting that a little bit. There are a few water hemp plants. I'm not seeing any water hemp in this particular area, at least, so I guess that's good. There's a little guy. This looks a little bit sickly. But the beans are taking off pretty good. Definitely have grown a lot in the last week or two, especially. And a fair amount of volunteer corn. Just either kernels or ears of corn that didn't make it into the combine. Like there's a pretty good patch here. The problem with some of it is that where we have an ear, you have a really dense mass of volunteer corn, and even though we put in some herbicide specifically to kill the grasses, or that kills grasses to get the volunteer corn, getting enough that it'll get down into the whorl and get everything in that clump killed is sometimes difficult. Overall, it seems like the pre-emerge herbicide's holding pretty well at this point. If I get a chance to spray some this week, I probably will get started. But if I don't think that'll be the end of the world. Noticed a spot here where there's a little bit more leaf damage. And I see the leaf beetle. So that's a bean leaf beetle. You'll get several generations of those throughout the summer that will chew holes in the leaves or defoliate to some extent. There are thresholds of how many beetles you should see, like per length of row at a given spacing, before there's enough damage to affect the yield or be able to pay for the insecticide, which it seemed like there was a little bit of damage on a percentage basis on those earlier leaves, but now that the beans are growing faster, I mean, you see plants where there's maybe a little bit more damage, but for the most part, I mean, the next row over looks pretty good. And I think they're probably up and going good enough at this point that I would be surprised if spraying for the bean leaf beetles made any difference in yield. But I'm maybe a little more conservative on the insecticide use than some people are, just because with Dad having honeybees as his sort of retirement hobby, I maybe have a little bit different viewpoint on some of that stuff than a lot of people do that maybe are a little bit more aggressive in use of that sort of thing. So here's the corn. I don't even know if I can find the flags where I found where we had the spots or the areas that got frosted off. You can tell there's a little bit of difference in the height of the corn in places, but some of that may be where I ran over stuff spraying. Looks like there's a fair amount of morning glories even over here on the edge, although some of them are kind of bleached out, but they may still die or at least get slowed down enough that the corn can outgrow them. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna find my pink flags. This has really grown a lot in the last week. Like, it's probably twice as tall as it was a week ago. Because I think it was exactly a week ago that I was spraying. Or maybe just over a week ago I sprayed this field. There's some that I ran over with the tractor for sure. Still have some variation because we have like this little guy next to two nice good-sized corn plants is probably not going to do much good, and if anything is just going to rob nutrients from the others putting stuff on the ears. Should be some pink flags right out in here somewhere. Maybe I'll turn the camera off, and if I find the flags, I'll turn it back. You can see kind of a line out there. There's like 3 or 6 maybe acres of one variety out here that was kind of a lot slower getting started. And I think you can still see a difference in it even now. It'll be interesting to see how that translates into yield when we run the combine through it this fall. Whether that slow start actually hurts it, or if it ends up being, you know, comparable or better yield than the other stuff. I think there's some video footage of me the day that we had that frost or the day after, where I was not real excited about life, and I'm pretty impressed how well things have come back. This stuff looks pretty good. I'm definitely fairly impressed with how much this has grown in the last week or 10 days. It looks pretty good right now. Maybe the researchers are right that you can burn it back pretty bad with frost and it doesn't affect it. We'll hope anyway. But don't see much in the way of large weeds. By far the biggest thing out here besides the soybeans is the volunteer corn. Don't really see any water hemp so far. A little bit of grass. A little grass there. A little funny that we've got cupped leaves. I don't know what that's about. Usually that's like a symptom of 2,4-D, or sometimes can be from using brush killer. Don't know that any of that's been used here. Nothing that I sprayed should have caused the leaves to cup like that, so I don't know if a neighbor around somewhere sprayed something that might have caused that. That's odd. There's some more hemp dogbane, or I think that's what that is. I need to study my weeds better. Mostly grass, not very much. All of it's small. Don't see anything that causes me to think I need to spray this ASAP. So, unless I find something that looks way different, I'm gonna go fishing this afternoon. I had to look around for a while to find it, but there is a water hemp out here, or pigweed of some sort. Probably water hemp though. Got him taken care of. But if I have to look around for 5 or 10 minutes to find it, that's probably bodes well. Looking at a different field now. This is one that I killed a few of my beans when I sprayed the corn, and threw out some beans on top of the ground before the rain last weekend, which it looked like they swelled up, but probably too hot and dry since then. I'm not real optimistic any of those are going to grow, but maybe we'll get a few. Definitely have a little more grass pressure in here where this fence line used to be. But we'll get that killed when we spray. I don't see too much in the way of water hemp anywhere that I've walked so far. I haven't been out here too terribly far. Mostly a little bit of grass, which is probably a foxtail species of some sort. Morning glories, which will come up all the time, and they're pretty easy to kill. And some buttonweed or velvet leaf, something in that family. There's water hemp. Not seeing really any lamb's quarter. There's a mare's tail. Looks like it might have been up when I sprayed pre's and then regrew, possibly. Seems like, visually at least, it looks like once you get a little bit away from that fence line where there's probably a pretty good weed seed bank from years and years, stuff out here looks quite clean. So, nothing too dire to report, which is good. Looking at another field now, and Can you tell where the variety was that dropped ears last year? Because I can sure tell where there's not much volunteer corn and there's a whole bunch of volunteer corn. Lovely. Getting some little water hemps. Some medium-sized water hemps. There's a big one, so it looks like there was a gap in the sprayer right here probably. So we're gonna pull that guy so that he doesn't have a chance to make 2 million seeds. Probably just make 1 million now. There is a little bit over here. Again, nothing that I'm super concerned about that I'm gonna spray on a windy day like this. But definitely want to be ready to scramble when the weather is appropriate. Hopefully within the next 5 days or a week anyway. It seems like there's a lot of that drawstringing on beans here too. I have a feeling somebody around has some dicamba beans. I don't know who, but that's exactly what that looks like. Since these are E3s, they should be resistant to 2,4-D, so it basically has to be dicamba, I think. I doubt if it's bad enough that it's going to hurt yield, but there are at least 3 sets of trifoliates that are affected to some extent. I probably shouldn't give my opinion about Extend on a video that will become public, but I don't like to spray things that hurt my neighbors. We'll just leave it at that, I guess. It's Wednesday afternoon, and my hope had been to try to spray tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be calm enough. It's supposed to get pretty windy again tomorrow now. And then there's kind of chances for showers and stuff. So I'm not sure if there's going to be any spraying happening this week or not on soybeans. In the short term though, I think I'm going to try to work on a few other random tasks. I haven't cleaned up planters from earlier this spring yet. And since we're approaching the 20th of June now, it's fairly unlikely that there should be any scenarios in which we would be planting anything now, or anything that where replanting would make sense, I guess. So I'm gonna try to get some stuff rearranged here, get the seed wagons put back in different spots, and maybe try to blow out the row units and stuff on the bean planter at least. Here this evening. It's been pretty hot and windy today. It looked like some of the corn was kind of rolling the leaves a little bit, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal yet at this point. Things are growing, and that's good. The secondary reason that I am going to try to move some stuff here this afternoon is this tractor works best for shoving wagons around. That's also the auger tractor. And since it's going to be windy tomorrow and I'm not going to be able to spray, I don't think I'm probably going to haul some corn. Well, got the seed wagons put away. Truck's loaded to take to the ethanol plant in the morning. I should have had my camera with me, but I didn't. I still got the sprayer to put away that pulled out for some reason, and close up the shop here. And haul corn tomorrow, it looks like, because it's going to be way too windy to spray. Then just have to see what the weather does. The last I saw, it wasn't supposed to be too windy Friday and Saturday, but there's some chances of rain, so see what happens.